just before we did this house, there was an architect in India called Doshi, who was a very famous architect and a wonderful, wonderful person. And Rick and I were over there teaching with him. And I did a talk on my work and Rick did a talk on his work. And he was looking at the work, and he knew the work fairly well. I'd met him several times beforehand. And he said, Pete, I love your work. He said, but where's the dark? And I went, very quickly, oh, you can't photograph dark, Goshi. But it was a good point. In Australia, we have a lot of light in our buildings, but very little dark. And when you go to India, you can see the sense of dark in a hot climate. You know, it's a place that you can retreat to and have a little relief in. So this house was very deliberately a light and dark house. And the first one that I did with that much consciousness about light and dark. So when you go on the roof, I'll open the roof up. When you go on the roof, it's like sky and light. But the other reason it's sky, is I had Uncle Max, the Aboriginal elder here, when it was just land, and I said, tell me what qualities should I be retaining? And he said, the diagonal quality through the site is very important. He said, because the energy comes up the site. And I went, I thought it went down. He said, no, it comes up. It vibrates in the ocean over there, into the sand dunes, goes down to the creek, and then comes up and goes out to the headland. And I knew there was energy on the diagonal. I didn't know it was up. I thought it was down. So that's we've been conscious of that, letting it in this site. And then he said, there's a marsh, there's a spring just here. Don't build near the spring and allow it to breathe. So don't ever build on top of it, you plant on top of it. And I thought it was the neighbour's downpipe going into the ground and coming out, but we changed the downpipe on the neighbours and it's still a spring. And so he spotted that really, and that was a hard thing to spot. And then the last thing he said, and probably the most important, he said was, this is a very rare site because you can see sunrise to sunset from the city side. He said, you see it in the country all the time, but from the city, he said, make sure there's a place in the house where you can get that. So the roof terraces, I mean, you can walk through the house and get it all the time, but the roof terrace, you get the 360-degree sky, which is pretty rare. So, not last night, but the night before, last night, I had a bath up there under the sky. It's still full of it. This corner of the building and that corner, and that's where I started to develop the diagonal. I was talking to someone at the first house. All the structures, all the secondary structure comes off the collar ties. So these coil ties here have the structure on them, both for the roof system but also for the wall system horizontally over there. So that we actually don't have to drill concrete. You can see even Joe's used them up here. Right, and then Joe's used them down here to support the bed as well. So we're using it every time because inside that hole is a coil that has a 10mm radius, and we screw threaded rod into it like stainless steel threaded rod. So this room here is totally flexible. It's got furniture in it made by Jared. So it's got a double bed that folds away and becomes 2 single beds. And it's got 3 bunks which can lift up if you look here. So these ones can lift up and go on the wall. Right, so they fold up and get hooked up onto the wall there. So this becomes a big long seat, and this is more a kitchen area. So here's your independent kitchen for this level. And here's the form pipe being reused that we used to make the building. If you're lying in bed and you look through that window there, you can watch sunrise. And that is a heater downstairs. That's a slow combustion stove downstairs, so the flue goes through the thickness of the building. So the rooms where the 2400 ceilings are, it goes all the way through, so it heats this side of the building. You wouldn't do it out there because it would lose all the heat. So also in summer and winter, you can open the roof up or part of that. So that just changes the nature of the building, but it also lets the sun in. In the sort of intermediate period, just get the sun coming down and open this up as door. And the reason we do that is to reflect the light in off this campus, so you get more intense light. But also there's a water body out there, so we get reflected water light off this lower side through here, which you can see outside there, which is also a bird bath.
I feel like Pete as well when this space is so flexible that we had a lunch here with like 30 people just here. And then that became like a serving space.
Yeah, you can open those doors there.
That was all open, hey?
So that people walking past can look all the way through the building to the mountains beyond. And then there's a bathroom here, which is a western bathroom, so it gets the western sun, and then there's a bathroom downstairs, which is an eastern bathroom, it gets the eastern sun. So if you're a morning person, you go to the one down there. If you're an afternoon person, you go to the one here. And this is the light fitting. So we standardised all the lights, 24 volt, and then we have different covers over the top of them. So those open up as well, but they look at a block of flats. So the idea is to try, through your openings, look, if you stand here, you're just looking at the ocean, you're not looking at houses or anything. And the timber at the bottom of the doors takes the car park out of your view. But I can open those doors and you'll see how the room changes.
Is that something you decided while?
No, we thought about that beforehand. Yeah. Well, yeah, because it's concrete, you have to think of a lot of things beforehand. You can't think. I mean, this was thought about beforehand. It's only just been built. Like it was always meant to be a folded bed there. No design, but a folded bed. The one thing we haven't done yet, which I'm still trying to work out, is this is going to be a covered terrace. But I think I'm going to lift up the cover so it's about this high to let the winter sun in and to let light in. Because it is so dark downstairs, there's a sort of quality of light that we're trying to chase downstairs, which is a working light. This is fine. This is terrific here, but downstairs is a little bit tough. Just so you didn't bump your head, we took this bit out, that's this track here.
Aye.
Just so the formwork is a little bit more difficult.
No, they're all precast.
Oh,
So we use the waste concrete and put them in later.
That's the shower.
and that's what you were saying, the different heights and cylinders, because it's all made off and then put in. Is that what you said?
No, because
That's nice. Oh, it is beautiful. So that's copper.
Yeah.
It's a nice room, this room. Very quiet room. This is a little ventilation, cross ventilation slot if you want it. But have a look at the handle here. So there are 3 water features here, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
There's this one. Which is just the sound of water. And then there's this one. But see, whenever you do a skylight like that, it's very hard to weather it. So in torrential blowing rain, we get a little fine mist of water coming in here. But who cares? It's concrete. It doesn't matter. Really, it just doesn't matter. And I've left the skylight open and I've come in, it's like pools of water. I just sort of scrape it into the porch up. Go and have lunch. Which is really interesting when you think of it like that a building can be that sort of rigorous that you don't have to get over preoccupied with, caring for every bit of it. It's actually quite a relief, and I deliberately did it like that. I didn't want to be subjected to the building, maintenance of the building. And I actually think it's quite an interesting policy.